Crazy Socks for Docs Day was created by Avant member and cardiologist Dr Geoff Toogood in 2017 to help create awareness of mental health and reduce suicide amongst doctors. Dr Toogood has lived experience of depression and anxiety. He faced stigma and discrimination because of his mental health experience, and this is what inspired him to drive change. Geoff, thank you so much for speaking with us today. It's been 5 years since you started the Crazy Socks for Docs movement to address the stigma behind mental health in doctors. What positive changes have been achieved by the movement?
Well, I think we've had quite a lot of positive changes in that time. So we've started the conversation, which is what we wanted to do. We wanted to break down the stigma. We do know that, I've been texted by people, who are patients that have sought help because of the day. And we've also had doctors that said that, it's given them the incentive to go and seek some help. So they're the positives. Also, it's growing. It's growing globally. We certainly know South Africa and Singapore, probably England, America are going to join, or parts of America are going to join in the day, which is good.
We are all aware of the high level of mental health issues and suicide amongst doctors, especially young doctors. What changes need to happen now to address those worrying statistics?
We are worrying about that. There's both issues in young doctors and older doctors. I think every doctor needs to be well so that they can support each other. I've often thought the younger doctors can't be supported by the older doctors unless they're also mentally well and feel safe. And I like thinking about sort of 4 terms now in kind of what we need to do. We need to have time and space for mental health programs and wellness programs. We need to address the stigma and the guilt around mental health, and that will allow more shared stories and lived experience. And I think the more we engage people with lived experience and recovery in programs around mental health and speaking to colleagues, the better we will the better we'll advance the cause. But if an older doctor is also struggling, it's very hard for them to support a younger doctor.
The term building resilience is spoken about a lot amongst the medical profession, but as we know, it's not just about being resilient when it comes to mental health. What advice would you give to doctors who may be struggling with their mental health?
Yeah, we often hear the term resilience. I think it's used in some ways the wrong way by hospitals and other organisations. And generally, doctors and medical students are very resilient. Resilience is really built as a village and support rather than individual resilience. And that's only built by people working together and having support within their workplace. Most of the time it's used as a tick box rather than a toolbox for the doctors, and it's often they're developing resistance, which is putting up with long hours, putting up with what's going on rather than building resilience. The second part really is that if a younger doctor or medical student, or indeed an older doctor, becomes ill, they should realise they're not alone. The development of anxiety and depression in people that aren't doctors is very common in Australia, so it's not just a doctor-only problem. And what they should do is seek help if they need to. And I think the best and first port of call for most doctors or students should be their local doctor, because they will have your best interests, they will know you, and they'll be able to provide the support initially and then the ongoing referral that's required. Speaking to loved ones or close friends, because they will support you at this time, and letting them know, and they'll obviously keep it confidential.
Many doctors at the start of their careers live in fear of speaking up about mental health because of retribution. What changes do employers and staff need to make to safeguard the health of young doctors?
I think Indeed, I think young doctors, medical students, young doctors certainly feel the burden of potential stigma and that their career will be affected if it's known they have a mental health issue. And I think it goes all the way from the employee or the employer up to the governing bodies such as APRA and the medical board that needs to be less kind of stringent in a doctor that's seeking help. I think one of the issues with doctors seeking help and in future employment is they hide their mental health issues to their detriment because of fear of future employment. And I think it's stigma, and I think it's stigma imposed by organisations, which should not do it.
There have been many changes made to mandatory reporting regulations to reduce the barriers for doctors to seek professional help without career-harming repercussions. Do you think enough is being done in this space?
Probably the answer is no. It still needs a better model. And I still think that, we touch on the same word, but it's stigma. But certainly doctors haven't sought help or reluctant to seek help or go and seek help off, outside Medicare kind of payment type situation. So it's all confidential, which it shouldn't be. A doctor or health professional, if they've taken leave, they're not well, but they're able to kind of recover and then come back when their health professional says they're safe, they don't need to be reported. And some of the problem is the fear that doctors have that they will be reported, even if they take time off. And there's no need to, so long as they're safe. But unfortunately, not enough doctors around in administrative positions realise that and will report the doctor, which creates significant issues for that health professional. And then not only are they trying to recover, but they're trying to meet compliances of a board, which is just doubly difficult.
In 2018, you commented how comparing a broken leg to mental health just wasn't right because you felt it diminished the seriousness of mental health. Since then, do you think there's been a shift in perception of the seriousness of doctors' mental health?
I think there has. I think if one thing that's happened is the global COVID-19 pandemic has shone a light on mental health. Speaking specifically about health professionals, it's given health professionals not an excuse is the wrong word, but an understanding that they can be vulnerable in the space, and that they may develop a mental health condition or anxiety or depression or burnout, particularly this time or any time in their career. Before it was kind of more hidden. Now it's a little bit more spoken out openly that it potentially can happen. I think generally it's shone a light community-wide on mental health and the stresses that kind of impact on someone's mental health and well-being.
Crazy Socks for Docs Day is on Friday, the 4th of June this year, and encourages everybody to wear their crazy socks and raise awareness of doctors' mental health. Can you tell us what else you have planned for this year?
Well, we'll start off with a plenary panel as previously before. So it'll start at 7:45 Australian Eastern Standard Time on the Friday. We have a great panel confirmed. I can put out the panellists we have at the moment. We have Dame Claire Gerarda, who has been knighted for work in particularly addiction and mental health issues in the United Kingdom, but also has established a doctor support group in London. So we're going to listen to her expertise, particularly with COVID surging in London. We have Dr Mukesh Hakawal, big advocate for local doctors, general practitioners who've borne a significant brunt of COVID recently. Dr Dinesh Pulpana from Queensland, who's the Queensland Australian of the Year and a finalist in the Australian of the Year. The parents of Dr Tasha Port, who sadly died a year ago, that are going to share their daughter's story in the hope that we'll get some change around the way doctors, particularly younger doctors in their case, and female doctors are treated in medicine. Dr. Sally Coburn will once again host it, and we're going to use it as the kind of mantra so that I'm thinking about stigma, safe place to seek help, and storytelling, which are the sort of powerful voices we want to put out.
The Crazy Socks for Docs movement has now hit the 5-year milestone. What's your vision for it over the next 5 years?
Well, we kind of got a broad vision. Someone said to me the other day, in fact, it was Sally Coburn, who said, ideally in 5 years, we don't have to run it anymore and everything's fixed. That would be kind of the idealist world, and I don't think that will be happening. I think there's things that I would like to do in Australia, gradually fund people speaking at various events during the year or online and sharing their stories, because that's powerful, and maybe fund a couple of sort of support programs that we would look at developing in the future. The other hope is we take it more globally, and there's a number of countries joining us on the day this year, which is kind of nice.
Thank you so much for your time today, Geoff. We encourage all doctors to take a photo wearing their crazy socks on Friday the 4th of June and post it on their socials with the hashtag Crazy Socks for Docs. Remember to start the conversation, start the advocacy, and start the action.